Hello, aspiring developer. Today we're going to be tackling lists or arrays or vectors. There's lots of different names for this one. I'm going to be using the word list, but in programming speak, they like to use all three of those. And depending on the language that you're talking with someone in, it could be a vector, it could be an array, it could be a list. They're all just a list. And a list is da, 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 a list of items. Surprise, surprise. Very similar to dictionary, right? Where we had an actual dictionary and it had a list of keys and values. I tried not to use the word list because technically a dictionary isn't a list. Normally dictionaries are unordered and lists are ordered. And lists are generally of the same type. They don't necessarily have to be, but unlike dictionaries, which are generally have multiple types, lists are generally a single type. And the reason for this is so that we can loop over them and iterate over them one by one and perform an action on them. And we don't have to be like, what kind of item is this? And what am I supposed to do with it? And right, so having them all be the same type, having them all be an integer or a string or even another dictionary is going to be useful from a programming context. So a common tool, again, we're going to go back to our spreadsheet. The rows in a spreadsheet are a list. So every single row, if we were just to take all of these and put them together, this would be a row of dictionaries, a list of dictionaries, sorry. And so every single value, every single dictionary in this spreadsheet, I'll use the word row, every single row in this spreadsheet, and the row represents a dictionary, which is why I use the word dictionary. If we take all these together, they form a list, right? So if you're interacting with a spreadsheet, you've interacted with lists before. And it's highly likely that you have lists of other things. Your to-do list is a great example of a list. The to-do list generally has a piece of text at the beginning that describes what the to-do is, and then perhaps some additional details, like a smaller description. And so you could say that the to-do item is another dictionary that has a key of description and another key of like in-depth description, and perhaps an assigned person. So that'd be another key, right? Assigned individual. So you can have lists of dictionaries. Those are very common. You can have dictionaries with lists. Those are very common. And those are all based on and structured on the four primitive types that we've discussed as well. So you've interacted with lists consistently throughout your life. I'm confident of it. If you've ever thought logically and methodically, you have created a list, a system, a series of steps. Step one, step two, step three. That's a list of steps that achieve a predictable result. We've all done this. It is almost a requirement for us to achieve high-level functioning. Walking, in general, is a list of things you need to do that you probably don't even think about anymore, but when you were little, like I'm watching my daughter learn to run right now, and there's a lot of things she needs to learn how to do in order to run. And it's a series of steps, and there's milestones that she achieves to get to the point where she can actually run. So we all have these lists, and they're all structured. And knowing how they work and starting to see them is how it's going to help you become a better no-code developer. So the rules of the list are you access an element in a list with an index. In programming, this index normally starts at 0. So let's just create an example of this here so that this makes a bit more sense. So I'll just say we have a list starting. This is index 0. Index 1 is going to be John. Index 2 is going to be hello, right? And so if I wanted to get Sterling out of this list, I would put the list and I'd say get the index at 0 and it would pop out Sterling, the string Sterling. I could do 0, 1, and 2, and I could pop out any of these that I wanted to based on the index. And the fun fact of lists is that elements in your list can be lists. They can also be dictionaries. This is a great example of that. Every row is technically a dictionary. and a spreadsheet is a list of rows. So lists are incredibly powerful. They are used everywhere. Dictionaries and lists are going to be used universally. They are everywhere you look. No matter where you go, they're going to be present. Just because it's nice and good and necessary to structure data in this way. Not only so that humans can consume it intelligently, but also so that we can have computers not only consume it, but actually use it on our behalf. So that is lists. And now we're going to jump into how do we actually use these and what does it look like to use these in software like SmartSuite and FlowFlow. Let's do this.